My name is Riley Zipper. I'm the project manager at the Indiana Business Research Center. I'm joined by Joey Carroll, will be leading the demo, and then we have Jen Junge and Carol Rogers on the call as well. But first, we're going to hear from Sydney Miller from the U.S. Economic Development Administration for some opening remarks. Sydney?
Hi, everybody. I just want to say thank you for joining us today. My name is Sydney Milner, and I work at the Research and National Technical Assistance team over at EDA headquarters. We help to support IBRC and Stats America through a grant program. So I just want to really encourage everyone today to really engage and ask questions if you have any. Thanks so much, Riley.
Okay, thank you, Sydney. So, Joey, if you had, there we go. So this is going to be a 45-minute session in total. We're going to use about 20 minutes or so for a demo from Joey Carroll. And then we'll get to a feedback session. So please, if anything pops up while the demo is going on, if you have any questions, any comments, feel free to type that into the chat box. And we'll get to it when we get to the feedback portion. And when we do the feedback portion, you're free to unmute yourself if you'd like to add some more context for maybe your comment in the chat box. And you can raise your hand if you'd like to be called on, but we just want this to be a really open and engaging discussion. So now, time for the demo. Joey, please take it away.
There we go. Now I can unmute myself. Thank you, everybody, for being here today to take a look at this demo. We are in the process of updating this tool. So this webinar will still be very, very helpful for the updated tool as well. No super major changes to the way that this tool works are in the process. We're just really adding and updating information. So your feedback is going to be very, very valuable. So the Innovation 2.0 is a really robust tool that provides an amazing amount of data and information that can give you insights into your region's potential for innovation. It's calculated using 5 major indexes that you can see right here, 3 of which represent innovation inputs and 2 of which represent innovation outputs. These 5 indexes are comprised of a series of core indexes, which are themselves comprised of over 60 different measures. Each of these are organized thematically along very precisely defined concepts. So there are many ways to sink your teeth into this tool, but in broad strokes, you simply need to choose a geography that you would like to study. We currently offer information at the county, metro and micro, and economic development district level. So once you have acquainted yourself with the information for your chosen region, you can also then compare it to other regions. These comparisons can be done either side by side in a table or on a map, kind of whichever way you really prefer to look at it. You can then also download all of the available data in Excel, or you can curate your own selection of data in Excel, Word, or PDF format. You'll also have access to download and read the supporting documentation of all of the theories and methodologies underlying each index and each of the components in the Driving Regional Innovation Report. So while the index itself contains a lot of information, we wanted to make sure that that information was easily accessible. So to begin, once you enter the tool, all you have to do is simply click on your preferred county or type in your preferred metro or EDD region. Then you can scroll down and view your Innovation Index report. But today, I really want to take you past this overview and show you all the features of the tool. So let's take this online. Okay, So this is the landing page for the Innovation 2.0 tool. From this page, you can explore the tool a little. So these are those 5 main indexes, and you can click on any of these to see a breakdown of the components. You can also access each part of the tool from this page. But what I want to do today is simply take you straight into the tool. So I'm just going to click on Go to Innovation 2.0. So here we can see that overview page that we saw in the snapshot on the PowerPoint. You can click on any of these counties on the map. I am going to click on Benton County, Oregon, and then you can scroll down to see your results. But instead of going from here and going through piece by piece, I want to kind of take you on a bit of a journey. So Benton County belongs to the Oregon Cascades West Governments, or the Oregon Cascades West Council of Governments Economic Development District. Okay, so I want to take you through this tool as though I was performing a SWOT analysis for this district as a way to sort of better understand innovation capacity in the region. So I am going to start by simply typing in the region name. I'll click on that, and you can see it has highlighted all of the counties in that district. So we've got Lane, Lynn, Benton, and Lincoln. And if we scroll down here, we can see the same information that we saw before, but this time, instead of for just Benton County, it's going to be for the entire district. So this shows you that the region has an innovation index of 102.7. And right under here, we can see that what that means is it has a normal relative capacity for innovation. So it is ranked 124 out of 384 EDDs. We also provide some quick facts about the area right here. So we have Eugene as the largest city, about 655,000 population, about 47,000 in per capita income. And we see that healthcare and social services is the dominant employment sector in this area. Over here, we can see how each of the major indexes stack up compared to all other EDDs. You can see that the Cascades West Council outperforms other regions quite substantially in terms of human capital and knowledge creation. If you know anything about this region, this isn't too surprising because both the University of Oregon and Oregon State University are in this region. If you want to dig in a bit more, I can scroll down and I can click on any of these major indexes to see more information about those specifically. So let's dig into this Human Capital and Knowledge Creation Index, where we're really kind of knocking it out of the park. Okay, we'll come right back up to here. So the specific information for this index is displayed in the same way as the previous information right under the map. So we have a human capital index of 146.7, and we see right here that that is a very high, that's a very high level relatively to other EDDs. We're ranked, we're ranked 23 out of 384. Over here, now what we can see is how each of the core indexes that make up the human capital index compare to other EDDs. So this region is performing really well across the board, but we can really see that educational attainment is one of the strongest areas. If we scroll down a bit more here, you'll notice that we have a table that breaks down each core index, right? So these gray lines here are the core indexes under the major human capital index. And so as expected, each of the measures under educational attainment is rather high. Okay, so this area definitely has a strength in bachelor's degree and graduate degree attainment. However, we can kind of see that there appears to be a potential opportunity here to improve associate's degree attainment. If we scroll down a little bit more, we can see another opportunity area with this technology-based knowledge occupation clusters. Okay, if you don't really know what that means, have no fear. All you have to do is simply click on this eye icon, and a table is going to pop up and give you an explanation for the rationale for this measure. So an explanation of the measure and a rationale. So what we see here is that this measure is the share of high-tech occupations relative to all jobs. So this is an important measure because high-tech occupations have been shown to favor innovative activities. So let's close this down, but let's go back up to our headline index. So while this region is knocking it out of the park on educational attainment, so let's go back to this headline index. So we're doing really well on human capital. We're lagging behind in economic well-being. So let's drill into that a bit and see what weaknesses we may have. Okay, so we'll scroll down here and we'll see all the little components. And while it appears that there is room for improvement across the board, there are a few key things that stand out. So first and foremost, per capita personal income growth has a very low score compared to other EDDs. The poverty rate, okay, is also much higher. So if we click on here, we can see that, so the number of the region's population that live below the poverty threshold, but we take the inverse of this because this is a negative. So a lower score here actually means sort of a higher poverty rate. So we're not doing well here. If we come down here, we can also see if we're looking at the compensation core index. So we're breaking down where income is coming from. We can see that proprietor income, right? So entrepreneurial income is doing pretty well, but it's really the wage and salary earners that are lagging behind. You can download all of this information by clicking on this PDF button right here. So we could go on and we could spend a lot of time going through each piece, but for now we have sort of a general idea of how this region is performing relative to other districts. But this is not necessarily comparable to all other districts. So let's take a look now at our map tool and see if we can find some good comparisons. So I'm going to scroll all the way up. You can see we have other components to the tool. So I'm going to click on map tool. Okay, and so right now we are just in the standard map view and it's showing us counties. So I'm just going to click on economic development districts, right? So we can see each region is color coded according to their innovation index with the bar showing the scale. You can also click on any of these major or core indexes. So if you want to expand these to core indexes and measures, so we could look at high school attainment, and that's how the economic development districts are doing, or patent technology diffusion. Let's stay here for the time being, okay? Because what I really want to do is check out, so this kind of gives me broad overviews. I really want to check out this comparative view right up here. Okay. So right now, this is showing us those EDDs that are above below, and right at an innovation index of 100. So what I'm going to do is, and so you can see that here. So human capital knowledge creation index, sorry, I want to go here. So compared to 100, which is just sort of a chosen middle point at this time. So what I want to do is anchor this comparison to my region, so the Cascades West Council. So I'm going to come over here and click on that. So you'll notice that has turned red. And we can see that's telling us that we've selected that region. So all the EDDs in yellow fall below our region on the innovation index. Those in dark blue have higher index values, and those in the light blue are similar, so within about 10 points. From here, you can also click on those major and core indexes to change the map view. So we're not super shocked if I click on the human capital and knowledge creation that most EDDs are below our region. But if we go economic well-being, you can see we're actually lagging behind. Okay, so let's say we want to compare our EDD to some competitors. So it looks like, let's go back to innovation index. So it looks like the Columbia Pacific, right, which is this one. There we go, this one right here. So the Columbia Pacific Economic Development District is doing better than we are, but this CCD Business Development Corporation is doing a little bit worse. But let's also, and these are good comparisons, they're in the same state, they both have coastlines, they're very nearby. But let's also think of another city that might be a good comparison. So Eugene, the biggest city in our region, is a diverse and really unique city. Another city that's really been on the rise for quite some time and is also quite diverse and unique is Nashville. My kids love Nashville. So let's also take a look at, it's this one, come on, give me, yeah, the Greater Nashville Regional Council, which we can also see is doing better than our region. So from here, I want to take a moment. Are we making sure everyone's okay? Thank you, Carol, for handling what's popping up in the chat. So from here, so I've been able to identify some good comparison districts. So now what I want to do is switch from this map view and take you over to our comparison tool. So we're going to start by selecting economic development districts again. I'm going to find my EDD. So that's the Oregon Cascades West Council of Governments. And what I end up with is a table of all of the index information. So if this is how you prefer to look at information, this is a good tool, right? So each of the major, so we've got our headline index, the innovation index, each of the major indexes, the core indexes, and all of our measures. And it's quite, as you can see, it's quite a laundry list of information going all the way down. Okay, I'll scroll back up here. Okay, so I've got my region in here. Now I want to add my comparisons. So I can simply type in. So we've got the Columbia Pacific, and you'll see it just gets added right next to us. And I can add more. So we'll go CCD, business development. And there's that one. And then we also want to stick, that's actually greater. So we'll have the Greater Nashville Regional Council. So these are going to be presented in the table in whatever order I type them in. But you'll notice as I kind of scroll along here, a little blue arrow pops up. If I were to click on that, it would rearrange these regions in order of their, so if I click on this one, it'll be in order of their innovation index. If I click on this one, it'll be in order of their human capital index. Okay, so let's take a look at what sets us apart from the CCD Business Development Corporation, because that's the one that wasn't doing quite as well as us. So we're doing better in the human capital, but we already expected that. So let's scroll down a bit. And we can see here that we are outperforming them in the Business Dynamics Index, which is the major index that gauges a region's competitiveness by looking at entry and exit of individual firms. So this, scroll down a bit so we can kind of see more of those components. So we can see that the Establishment Dynamics Core Index, we're scored at 97.5, but CCD has a 61.7. If we look at these measures, we see that in general, businesses are expanding more in our area compared to CCD. We can see this from this establishment expansions divided by establishment contractions measure. And so recall that I can simply click on this icon and see that this is the ratio of establishments that are growing in terms of employment. So they're adding more employees relative to those that are contracting, that are losing employees. We can also see the rationale behind this measure. And the rationale is really, this measure tells us information about the churn of employment that's often present during the innovation process. As new ideas and technologies and processes take shape, there is frequently a period of decline for the old technologies and processes, and this can be captured in this measure. So what we see here in Cascades West is potentially an opportunity. This index score is in a normal range, so meaning there is contraction happening, but not to a degree that we would be alarmed or necessarily consider this a weakness of the area. It indicates that instead there may be opportunities for expansion, creation of new and more viable industries, firms, and jobs. If we keep scrolling, we can see a strength of the area. One other area that CCD is lagging behind West Cascades in is venture capital, right? So as many of you are probably aware, it can be very difficult to bring venture capital investment into a region. So while West Cascades is lagging behind Columbia Pacific and Nashville in this term, given that venture capital is already in the area, that presents an opportunity to grow it, right? And you can see that CCD, there isn't any venture capital in the area. So we could see this really as an opportunity. If we keep going, we look at this business profile index, you can see that we are pretty comparable across the board, across all these regions, with Nashville pulling ahead. Looking at the components of this measure, we can see that connectivity and a little bit farther down here and proprietorship are weak points for West Cascades. So specifically, we see that there is little growth, right? So change in residential high-speed connections. So there's little growth in residential high-speed connections, as well as farm operators with internet access. So while this data is a little bit old, this does indicate a potential issue. As we have all moved online during the pandemic, access to high-speed internet has become a
Joey, we're actually having a hard time hearing you.
Hey, Joey.
We lost audio.
Yeah, Joey, we can't hear you.
She might not be able to hear us either.
Still can't hear.
Yeah, I wonder, Riley, do we have some way with Zoom to let her know?
Hmm.
You're just talking about broadband access, I believe. And
Yeah, isn't that ironic?
Ironic, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, good idea. Joey.
I've also sent her a message.
Yeah, sorry about that, folks.
Okay, well, while we get, while Joey maybe gets her.
Okay.
All
Oh,
right.
there she is. Okay, great.
All my technology just crashed and it just died and I didn't know. So how far back? Let's see here.
We're
yeah,
just
can't
talking about
hear you now.
connectivity.
11:25. So we were just talking about connectivity. Beautiful. We haven't gone that far off then. Goodness gracious.
Well, see, this was a good example, Joey, as a participant pointed out. You just showed why good broadband is necessary.
Exactly. Okay, so let's back up a bit. Okay. Okay, so we will. So we talked about venture capital. So we are lacking a bit in growth. So change in residential highest speed connections. So we're looking a bit stagnant here, right? So everywhere else is doing better than us on this. Okay, so there's very little growth in these residential high speed connections. We're also seeing that we're lagging behind a bit or quite a bit in farm operators with internet access. And this is quite important for this region. There is a lot of agriculture going on around here. And while this data is a little bit old, it does indicate a potential issue, right? So we've all moved online during the pandemic. So this has become, so access to internet has become essential, right? Limited connections, limited availability of those connections can really hamper certain efforts in a region, right? So employment websites, schools have become really important, consumer websites for small businesses, and access to social services. A lot of that stuff is moving online as well. Okay, so now I think we're really getting into what we missed when my stuff died. Okay, so let's scroll down and we can see under the dynamic industry profile that we're also quite lacking in large establishments. Everyone is doing better than us on this front, and Columbia, Pacific, and Nashville are, almost 3 times better than what we're doing here. Large establishments are really important for keeping unemployment low. So what this tells me, or what this leads me to start thinking, is what, if anything, is keeping large establishments out of our area? Or on the flip side of that, what are these other areas doing to attract large establishments, right? And one last thing that I want to show you about how these comparisons can be helpful is down here with that economic well-being index. So we're going to scroll past these. Here we go. So this was one that we noticed we weren't doing super well in when we were just kind of looking at our region. Okay, so we know that our area isn't performing super well here, and we had identified some key concerns with per capita income growth, the poverty rate, and then the wage and salary earners. But if we look at this comparison, we see that per capita income growth is an issue in all of these regions. Now, for anyone that does any kind of research in wages, this is probably not that surprising. Wage growth has not been performing well sort of nationally for many years now. But what it definitely does do is it indicates to us that this may not be a regional issue, but rather a broader national issue that we just see the impacts of within the region. Still something to be concerned about, but a different context. Let's see here. So, but we do still see indeed that our poverty rate is still a concern. Okay, so we have the lowest index score, remember, meaning the highest poverty rate, than the other three comparison groups. Okay. Now, there's certainly much more that we can look at here, but for the sake of time, let's show you how to get your hands on the data so that you can play around with it in your own time. Okay, so let's scroll all the way back up to the top here. We've got our big tools up here. Okay, and so I'm going to go to this download tool. And so you have two options. You can download data by geography or by index category. So let's say you want all the data for all the regions. We can absolutely do that. So let's say we want it for all the counties. So I would just click here, and I'm going to get, you can tell I've done this a couple times. I'm going to get an Excel spreadsheet. Open it up. Okay, and so you will get state and county FIPS. So these FIPS codes are BEA FIPS codes. This is mostly going to be important for the Virginia area because the BEA has a specific way of handling all of those independent cities in Virginia. And you'll see the headline index, so that's your innovation index, and then all of the various components, the major and the core indexes, and then all of the measures, the year for which they were taken. So all of these are from 2016. Your index value, rank out of the 3,110, and then the median value for all of these. Okay. And you can get that for your economic development districts and your metro and micropolitan areas as well. Now, let's say you're just interested, like we really want to know about economic well-being. We're really concerned about that one. So I can come down here. Okay, and open this up. And so instead of giving me everything for the index, it is just going to give me everything for the economic well-being index. So the economic well-being index itself, and then all of its various components. But what you'll also notice is that now I have it for all the geographic areas. So right now I'm in the EDDs. I can click over here. Now I've got the counties, I've got the metro areas, and we've got a little bit here, so some source notes. And if we have, I want to add one little thing here at the end. Let me finish this out. The other thing that is going to be your friend when looking at this data is going to be this driving regional innovation report. So we'll open it up. It's a PDF. And what this is going to give you is the breakdown of everything. So this is going to be the rationale behind why this was included, the theories and methodologies underlying any theories and methodologies underlying this. All the details that you could possibly need. Okay. One last little thing that I did want to show you that you can get. So if we go back here, so we did some comparisons between regions. Another thing that you can really do that's helpful, right? So we have 4 counties here. Is if we go back to our comparison tool, I can enter go to counties. So I can enter all the counties in my district. I think Lane County is what I'm missing. And we can see the breakdown within the district itself by counties. So we can see if there is, right, so this kind of makes sense that Benton and Lane County, because this is where Oregon State is, and this is where the University of Oregon are, that these two are performing a bit better than the other counties in terms of human capital. But you can really kind of see where within your district your needs are, right? So if we're going down to venture capital, you can see, because that was one opportunity for growth, you can see venture capital is really coming in Benton County and not in any of the other counties. So that's where you maybe want to focus. I just wanted to get that in there. If we had enough time, get that in there. As a last little piece. So if you have any questions about any of the tools, so definitely look at the data, look at the report. If you have any questions about any of the tools, you can also reach out to us directly with any questions or issues, and we would be happy to help.